Alright, we're live. What? XSplit is just not working. There's Brad, and no Paul. No Paul left behind. In this case, so, but what the heck?
Everything okay?
No, it's, I'll explain once, this is just, I don't know what happened to this box. La, da, 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 da. Oh, I know. Oh. This is going to be fun. I think. I bet. The monitors are backwards again because Windows. No? Oh, whoa. I have no idea. What the heck? There you are. Look at that.
It's pretty much the pandemic in a nutshell right there.
Well, this is just... Nothing like rebuilding the scenes because my life continues to be a joke. My confidence in any of this working and going correctly lately is at a resoundingly low level of confidence. All right, let's open up the chat room where I'm sure it's just filled with happy folks who've seen. There we go. Can people hear me, hopefully? Because yesterday I had my mic muted, and that's why there was no episode. Paul and I actually recorded an episode yesterday. It was great. Best ever. And all you could hear was Paul, so maybe that really was the best episode ever.
Wow, you're really dumb for you to say something like that.
Well, I opened the fridge, and I was going to grab a beer and drink on the show because that's, whatever. And there was no beer. Somebody drank it all, named me, and I forgot to get more. Yeah, and then I come down here, and then as everybody else could see, there was just, Paul is really low. Can't hear Paul. Can you hear Brad okay? Let me check it. I can hear you just fine, but...
Yeah.
Can you say something? Like just...
Yeah, let me read something.
No, there is no audio for you.
Search deal go over 5 years.
What? Okay.
Over $400 million each year.
So...
Keeping the search giant as the default practice.
Maybe tools, settings, audio.
June
All right, so it's on now?
Mozilla will earn between $400 million
Nope.
and $450 million each year through 2023.
I don't know why this is. All right, so it's on now?
What's that?
There we go.
Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Interesting.
Audio should be working now because, you know what? And see, this is why I needed the alcohol within the
Sure.
vicinity to consume.
There's definitely going to be a nap happening today. Blech.
Where? You're supposed to be there, but you're not.
The inventor of the Pixel passed away. Not the phone, the actual Pixel. What? Is that true?
I don't know. I was going to open with some joke that, because nobody's seen you since, that you went to Mutts and Cuts, and now you're back. And
What did I do?
haircut.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? This is...
My dog's hair looks better than mine.
I didn't say it was bad. I was just saying, like, my wife cuts my hair, so, you know.
It is what it is, you know. We don't have a bowl big enough for my head, so I have to go someplace.
Anyways, we are back.
Such as it is.
Yeah, it is a Friday. It's the 14th, whatever. Super interesting news yesterday out of the gaming world, but it doesn't really... the ramifications will be massively beyond the gaming world.
Okay.
Fortnite laid a trap. Apple.
A cunning trap.
Yeah,
A cunning plan, I guess. For you Blackadder fans.
my volume is still apparently low. I do not understand why.
Should be shortcutting vodka instead of this thing. Anyhow.
Anyways, you know, I'm about to put my face in front of a claymore because nothing is working. Apple put a claymore down, or Epic put a claymore down. Apple walked in front of it and it exploded with their little payments schema, if you will.
And then Google did the same thing.
Yeah, I think that was the interesting one. I don't think Epic was as prepared for the Googs.
No, they were.
Did they have their
They
lawsuit
were.
ready too?
Oh, yeah. In fact, the Google lawsuit has additional information in it because apparently they forced OnePlus and LG not to allow Epic to put its Fortnite and its App Store on their phones. Interesting little restraint of trade.
Yes.
But by the way, they let Samsung, the biggest phone maker, put their own App Store on their phones. Because they have a special little sweetheart deal with those guys. Right? So it pays to be humongous, I think is what we're learning here.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is going to be fun to watch because this is how this has the potential to bubble up into a serious antitrust litigation foundation. Jesus Christ, can you hear that?
No.
Like, first of all, my in-laws are here for God knows why. Hopefully you could hear that. And like they are like doing yoga above me.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like I can literally see the camera shaking. Whatever.
Do they know you're doing a podcast?
You know,
that work occurs because it's a Friday.
Yeah.
It's like we would try to make it's not worth explaining what this is. Trying to make plans with my brother-in-law. We text those guys. My sister writes back and she says he'll get back to you later. He's golfing. He's probably not going to answer his phone. And I was like, golfing is not work. Golfing is play. It's Friday. He can answer a text. But he hasn't, because that's what happens when you act like that. People just kind of dig their heels in. Now we might miss out on a chance to do something awesome because it's kind of a time-limited thing. But, you know, as long as he's having a good time playing golf, it's fine.
Anyways, a Fortnite court case.
Yes,
like they've sued Apple. They've now sued the Googles. They are angry at their fees and their control of the world. And there was a report out or some stats out that on Google, Fortnite was making like $3.5 million a month, and on iOS it was like 4.5 or 5. So effectively, they're not only putting down the court cost here, but they are going to be losing some serious revenue per month. I'm curious what they make per PC. I bet it's a lot higher.
Yeah, I mean, this is a company that was just valued at, I want to say it's $17 billion. So you finally have a company with some money.
Yep.
Does not give a crap about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful part about this, I mean, just the thing that should warm the hearts of anybody listening to this is they said, look, we're going to lose lots of money doing this, and we're losing lots of money because of their business practices. We don't want any of it back. We're not asking for damages. We just want them to change their illegal business practices. We're doing this for everybody, And it's like, right, exactly.
Yeah. You got to think, I don't know if Steam has come out and officially supported it, but you got to think like Steam or Valve has got to be on board with this. Microsoft is probably sitting there kind of just, twiddling their thumbs, but they're obviously with xCloud. They are very much in favor of this. Probably any company that, small or large has got to be in favor of this.
Right. Google's an interesting one because Google, of course, has the Play Store and Android, and Android is by far the biggest digital market. Or I should say smartphone market. But they also have a little gaming service.
Yes, they do.
Stadia that can't get on iOS because of a business practice that is exactly what they're doing to other people on Android.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we could all agree to stop pointing the guns at each other and just do the right thing for the industry, do the right thing for everybody.
Yeah. I thought I had a home run too yesterday. I tweeted out this picture of the Surface Duo with like Fortnite on it. I'm like, Microsoft already had this in the marketing material as a joke, and thing, like it just blew up. Like it was, and then Google pulled Fortnite too, and I was like, oh damn, like Microsoft had it. They had the win, and then
I thought there was a chance Google wasn't going to pull it.
I thought so too.
That given what they had seen, what had just happened, this was clearly a carefully laid trap. It's like legal hundreds of pages of legal documents at the ready.
I mean, they had a marketing video, the 1984 ad, which was brilliant, by the way. I mean,
awesome.
They
by
even
the way,
had
the best detail in that video. Okay, seriously, is that it's 4:3, so it literally matches the original. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not like a widescreen thing. It's 4:3.
Now, I don't know if this is intentional. I have to think it is, but there's a not a famous, but a popular picture of Tim Cook out with sunglasses on, and the sunglasses they put on the little apple in that thing are the same ones.
See, I if I had made that video, if I had anything to do with it, that would have been a cartoon image of Tim Cook. It would have been obviously Tim Cook.
Yeah.
You could even, look, if you had enough time, you could probably digitally analyze every speech he's ever made, pull every word out, and get all the words from the that you wanted, and make it his voice too. But whatever. Anyway, it was effective. Plus, Fortnite is like a cartoon, so doing it as a cartoon kind of made sense.
Yeah, it was very well orchestrated, I think, is the way to describe what Epic has done.
It made me want to go buy something from the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, like Fortnite.
Like Fortnite. Well, Fortnite is free.
It's free, but whatever.
I'm not a Fortnite fan, but they have a PC game store. It's pretty good. They give away free games all the time. And they're like free games. They're not free if you still have an Xbox Live account. They're like free games, like actually free.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It was an interesting marketing move.
Like they care about games and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because it's not so much. I mean, they do care about games, but they're more concerned with Apple and Google, and they had this complaint about Microsoft too, just being arbitrarily in control of what can and cannot succeed in the world.
That's right.
And so,
right. Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's it. That's all.
The problem on Windows, and with Tim Sweeney's earlier complaints about what was then the Windows Store, is that it's not the only avenue for getting apps on Windows. Obviously, in fact, it's kind of a minority avenue. It's not really a place most people go. But when you have a mobile platform where it is literally the only way, where there is no side loading, or on Android where side loading is, as they describe, an incredibly difficult process that any normal human being would find to be semi-dangerous and probably would never go through if they ever step through the steps. When you have payment systems that only can come from Apple on their platform, and you can't have your own payment system, even though we're a $17 billion company, we have our own payment system. We don't need you to do this. You're just restraining trade. You're literally abusing monopoly position, and they're just right. They're right. They're just right.
The other interesting argument too that Epic did make, which I mean makes sense now that I read this, like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense, is the reason they don't do this on the Mac is because they can't get away with it.
Right. Yeah, they have a Mac app store, and I'm sure they wish that was the way everyone got apps. I'm sure they would love that. But yeah, and there's all this stuff that goes on. This kind of debate goes back and forth. Apple erected this giant infrastructure, and it doesn't, pay for itself, except that it does pay for itself. Literally, it's subsidized by all their hardware sales. But okay, whatever. But you know what? Walmart built a giant infrastructure for having stores and supply chains and blah blah blah, and Costco did, and supermarkets did. Everyone, that's their price of doing business. They're trying to create an ecosystem. I mean, Apple is the most profitable company on earth, guys. They're not struggling to keep the lights on in the data center. Everyone's, oh, they have to pay for the bandwidth. Oh, like poor Apple. My God, the bandwidth. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, look, should there be some fee? Yeah, there should be some fee.
Yeah, I think, and somebody asked in the question, they said, what is the right thing? I think Epic charges, is it 12%?
Yeah.
And like, they're real transparent. They're like, 5% of this is our cost. Our margin is the difference, and everything else is yours.
Yeah.
Like that's.
By the way, Apple's would be a lot less. They're a much bigger business that is more finely tuned. I mean, Epic comparatively is a small business, relatively speaking.
Compared to Apple, for sure.
Here's what's right. Because people have said, well, what are you going to do? You're going to make Apple let people sideload apps on an iPhone? Yeah, no. The answer is the fee needs to be more reasonable, right? Everyone has heard the 30% figure, right? Mm-hmm. There should be no fees on any transactions between a company and its customers. If a company is using your app and the app is free, but there's a subscription tied to it, Apple should not get any of that. They're not doing anything. That is not their infrastructure being used. That's a ludicrous fee that makes no sense. That needs to go away. The other thing is that Apple needs to allow developers to have a choice of payment systems. They shouldn't have to use Apple's payment system. And that's what's fair, right? And Apple, by the way, under the situation I just described, would still make billions and billions of dollars from this. It's still a very lucrative business. They have billions of customers, or 1 billion customers, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting and to see what happens. There was no indication of this yet that Apple was going to try to do this when they moved to ARM. Michael pointed out that they'll do this when they switch to. I mean, that would be a natural point where they could try to inflict that barrier.
I don't see it.
I don't see it happening because that's a harder.
It would be.
I don't know.
For them to do that, they would have to keep the Intel emulation going forever and say, well, if you want to if you want to get the apps from somewhere else, they have to be Intel apps, and they'll run under emulation. Mm-hmm. I guess they could do that.
We will find out. It's
they could only digitally sign ARM apps through Xcode that go through the store or something like that. Whatever the system is. I mean.
Yeah.
I don't have
to wait too long.
By the way, as awful as Apple could be, I don't actually see them doing that. I wouldn't anticipate that. But who knows the bounds for these guys? I don't know. This system has been broken for a long time. And I'm sure there are companies that would like to be retroactively paid back for the erroneous fees that they've been charged. But like I said, I give Epic a lot of credit for saying, look, we're not looking for damages here. Mm-hmm. Just want to fix it. Just want to make this right. Make it fair for everybody.
This will never happen. This will absolutely never happen. But what if Apple just came back and said, okay, we'll just drop the price of our iPhones. And that's how we're going to pay for them.
Right. Yeah. You got to understand, hardware is an incredibly low margin business. In fact, for most companies, hardware is a negative margin.
It's typically like 1% to 3% is like what you make.
What are Apple's margins on hardware, Brad? Do you remember?
I think if you put a 0 after some of those numbers,
and then a 4 in front of it, it's in the 40s. They make a lot of money. They have an incredibly efficient supply chain and manufacturing process. It's from soup to nuts or whatever across the board. Whatever company Foxconn manufactures one of these things. in China, and then it arrives via FedEx at your house like the next morning. It's almost that fast. I mean, it's ludicrous. They're very good at this. So they make a lot of money. But, that business is what subsidizes everything they're doing. And Apple is still on the side, and Google is too, by the way, getting this services business going, and they're competing with their own developer partners. And that's fine, but part of the complaint there is, their own business is given advantages that others don't get. And I don't think that needs to be in place, because the truth is Apple's customers, by and large, are very loyal to the company. And if you look at, Apple News and Apple TV Plus and Arcade and whatever else they have, from iCloud and all that stuff, there's going to be a significant number of people who buy Apple devices that still subscribe to that stuff. And that's good. That's fine. They don't have to be, they don't have to be protectionist and give their own services unfair advantages for that to happen. It's still going to happen. Those are still going to be healthy businesses.
Yeah, speaking of the subscriptions, there's supposedly this fall they're going to announce like Apple One, and then you get.
Oh, did you see they're going full blown Microsoft 365 too? They're going to have multiple tiers, and the low end tier will be music and TV, and then there's 3 more tiers, and we're speculating on the price, but if you. I think Apple Music. Well, I know Apple Music is $9.99. Apple TV Plus, I think, is $4.99 a month. Is that right? So $15, let's say, for those two things. If you bought them separately, maybe that thing will be like $12. You can kind of do the math on this. I mean, however it works. So you could be paying, $45 a month ish for the full meal deal, so to speak. It's about the same price for a high-end iPhone.
45.
Well, remember, the goal is to get money every month. It's smart, right? So if iPhone, most people don't hand over $1,000, right, or $1,200, or whatever it is. They pay monthly, and it goes over 2 years. The problem for Apple is that when the 2 years expire now, people are actually kind of holding on to the phone, a lot of them, and so they kind of rely on that constant churn.
Right.
And this services thing can make that up, and it can make it up from the very same customers. So you might have a guy who for 2 years is spending $40 a month on the phone, and then $20 to $40 a month on these services. And someday the phone, there'll be some period of time where he's not paying for phone, but the services are evergreen. They keep going, and it's a smart business. It's a good idea. I mean, like, it makes sense from a business perspective.
Just $45 sounds like a lot, but I guess.
Well, that would be for everything, and that includes like iCloud storage and.
Yeah. Yeah. The only one that's interesting. I mean, interesting is the wrong word. Is potentially Apple Music, but I'd rather. Yeah. Personally, I think I'd rather support Spotify, just out of a personal feeling.
No, I've certainly made the case. I mean, you should be using third-party services. I think from if not only from a moral perspective, but just from a doing the right thing for yourself perspective. But there are advantages to sticking in the Apple ecosystem. I don't think you see them too much when you do Apple TV Plus or something. Apple, like whatever. I mean, but. Unless it's artificial, like Apple only allowed Apple Music on its HomePods until I think the coming release of the software or something like that. But I personally think you're better off using third-party services. But like I said, there are people who are like, I want the Apple thing. I know it's going to integrate. It's going to work great. It's going to work across my products.
Yeah. If you've got an Apple TV, if you've got the HomePod, if you've got an iPhone, you have an iPad and a Mac, that's an easy decision.
So. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Apple as a company doesn't have to restrain, make it harder for other companies just because it decided to get into music or TV streaming or game playing or whatever it is. But they are, and it's like, guys, you're just hurting your own customers. You could have like these loyal customers buy an iPhone every couple of years, they buy Macs every 3 or 4 years, they buy Apple TVs, they do whatever it is, but now they can't access the Xbox gaming service they want to use. It's like, just sounds arbitrary. Like, does that mean like tomorrow I'm going to wake up and like you're not going to allow Dropbox because all of a sudden cloud storage is a big deal for you? Like I don't know. I worry about that thing.
Yeah,
I would worry about it if I was like an Apple guy.
Yeah, I'd love to see xCloud on the Apple TV. I think that's a natural place for it. But is it going to happen?
I think it's going to happen. I really do. I think behavior is going to change. And by the way, behavior is going to change doesn't necessarily mean the exact opposite of what's happening now. It doesn't mean the curtain comes down and everything everything's different. There are compromises to be made. I mean, I know we live in an era in which nobody compromises, but It's very harsh one end of the spectrum or the other. I mean, we're not asking for zero fees on anything. There's a compromise to be made. So, maybe there's a point for Microsoft where they say, look, yeah, you can have the percentage, whatever it is. I don't see why you need to check every game that's going through the the service. I mean, we have ratings boards for that. Like, that's just a false. You're really just trying to prevent us from operating a business. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to get better.
Well, eventually, something's going to change. So
yeah,
there's one of two paths that's going to happen. Either the courts side with Epic, and something does fundamentally change, or they side with Apple, and then they just re-entrench on this, and nothing's ever going to get updated.
I have a hard time. I haven't read this yet. I guess Bloomberg has an interesting analysis of the antitrust cases against the 4 big tech companies that are currently under a lot of scrutiny, and the premise is that none of these are necessarily the slam dunk that some people think they are. I actually do think all of them are slam dunk, so I'm very interested to read this. But regardless of that, the other reason that Epic's lawsuit is really important is because it puts it into court, and it renders some kind of some legal entity, some judge or panel of judges or whatever, is going to actually examine this and hold it up against other businesses, other markets, and determine whether or not they're acting in a way that is illegal outside of slow-moving antitrust regulation, and which I think we can all agree is, if anything, is antiquated anyway and hasn't kept up with technology. So this to me is a speeding of the process. Like this, if successful or not, we may not need antitrust. Like this may kind of settle it.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of no matter what happens in that court case, no matter what happens, it's going to get retried. It's going to go work its way up through the courts because nobody's going to take that decision and then just be like, okay, we're done. Like they will appeal it, either side.
Well, yeah. So by the way, yes, of course, that you're right. But like I said, I think there's a compromise to be made, and I think, and I guess literally in a legal sense, compromise would be a settlement at some point. Where Apple, remember at WWDC this year, they kind of quietly revealed on the side, oh, by the way, we're going to let you set default apps on a couple of things, that thing you've been asking for 20 years almost, or 10 years, whatever it is. And we're working with, what was it, not Sonos, or was it Spotify, or one of the companies that complained, and we're going to, maybe it was the Basecamp guys, whoever it was, but they were working with that company that had complained and said, look, we're reviewing our process. We're going to change it. We're going to make this more transparent and less arbitrary. So just already, like you've seen that level of change. I think we're going to see more of that kind of thing.
I hope so. We will see.
I think so.
We will see. Conveniently timed, Microsoft announced that over 2,000 indie titles on Xbox and they've paid out 1.5 billion dinero to those individuals, or I should say companies.
Yeah, so I haven't written about this yet because this is a little down the road for me, but I've been doing that series about working from a laptop. So one of the things that's changed just in the past 24 hours is I'm now actually using my monitor again. It's not just an expensive stand for my webcam. But one of the things I've been doing on the side is working through some PC games and kind of looking and seeing what that looks like. Of course, I'm actually going to be paying more attention to Epic Games now because, God love them. But I was literally just noticing in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, in this case, there's a nice collection of indie games out there, and I've played some of them, like Oxenfree and Inside and Firewatch, and there's a bunch of them. But some of these games, Cuphead is one of these actually, although now they're part of a major studio. But there's some amazing indie games, and so there's one I'm playing now. I don't remember the name of it, but you're like a Paris taxi cab driver, and you have to solve a murder, and it's kind of. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it's just, it's an indie game. It's just wasn't made by Activision.
Yeah. Another game out there that's quite fun. It's on the PlayStation and on Steam. It's gotten a ton of traction. It's called Fall Guys.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
It's sort of you got to just go watch the video. It's not like a serious hardcore game, but it's almost like, remember
Fog Eyes or Frog Eyes?
Fall Guys. It kind of reminds me of like
Guys.
the.
I'm sorry, I have heard.
Most Extreme Elimination Challenge that used to be on ABC. Like you'd run through obstacles. Like it's sort of like that, but in like a cute, artsy, fun way. That has completely blown up in popularity.
That is a little too cute for me.
Watch the videos though. Like it's like a snackable, casual game type thing.
No, it's those things with like the giant things spinning around and you jump over the water and you get slammed.
This is the type of game that I'd want on a phone.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
looks like the type of game that you could play on a phone.
It does, but I don't think it's there yet. I can almost guarantee it will be though in the near future.
Oh yeah.
My AC just turned on, so if you hear background noise, that is the.
It's not the in-laws anymore. It's the.
It's not. So there we go.
I don't hear anything coming out of here.
It's annoying.
Sorry. Have you gotten the double screen thing yet on Teams? Speaking of annoying.
All right. Well, I will go edit that up into ship shop shape because I'm sure it's just a peachy.
Yeah, hopefully it worked and whatnot.
Well, at least people in the outside world could, were helping us triage in real time that you couldn't be heard because we would have recorded that whole damn thing and then it would have been the opposite of yesterday where it would have been all my audio.
What's happening?
So here's what's crazy. Like we did that Teams Day thing on Wednesday. I streamed audio content and video content for almost 9 hours. No issues. I turned the computer on the next day.
Yep. No, I have the same. I mean, I have those weird problems. Like I did Winners Weekly the other day. Perfectly fine. No problem. Afterwards, I was playing Xbox. I looked over, and the little icon that shows you the network connection was flicking between the Wi-Fi one and the one where you have an Ethernet cable because the Ethernet thing was going in and out. And I'm like, what the frick? Like, I don't know.
It's the story of life. All right. Later.
Bye.